Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Of national
The world is rapidly in a state of flux. The increased integration of countries in the world has changed the way politics occurs within and without national borders. Globalization has made national transactions easier to the benefit of the market and of the state, and it has made it easier to influence and contest politics in the global stage. But the people are not happy, and we have seen them organize in solidarity even beyond their national borders. Strangely, globalization has both championed and fragmented democracy as opening borders. Both requires nation-states to embrace international laws, democratic ideals, and global capitalism at the expense of sovereignty and autonomy. In this podcast, we will explore the various impacts that globalization has had on four political aspects: the nation-state, the public sphere, civil society, and space and borders.
This podcast is presented to you by Khalil and CJ of Group 1. In Chapter 21 of the Blackwell Companion to Globalization, Gerard, Delanty, and Rumford have defined the concept of globalization as the multidimensional, accelerated, and interconnected organization of space and time across national borders. Here they explore the roles of three dimensions of globalization that contributed to a transformation of modern politics. Those three dimensions include global power, which involves the ongoing campaign for the universal acceptance of democracy by the West; global normative culture, which involves discourse and norms relating to human rights and democratic ideals; and finally, polycentric networks, which involves non-state agents that have political power such as terrorist groups, social reform movements, international voluntary groups, and religious institutions. So, CJ, how do all of these things influence the way politics is being done today?
For the case of nation-states, it has made state functions easier but separated the nation from the state. Citing the European Union as an example, the article supposes that the states now favor transnationalization, which is the way the government allocates the functions it finds difficult to manage, such as cross-border trade and financial market regulation, to more efficient neighbors or allies. So the nation-state is strengthened by the ease and efficiency it offers. Despite this integration, some scholars argue that the EU has grown so large that joining it will actually legitimize the national sovereignty of a country. Furthermore, the traditional nation-state is still a thing for the rest of the world, with the US and China as examples whose strategic, diplomatic, and economic activities help contribute to globalization and still show no interest in organizing a regional bloc like the EU. Global cities and hubs have arisen requiring new set of politics to be established in regions with greater global ties in the country than in others. However, this implies that the state will become more susceptible to neoliberal policies, lesser state control over markets, and greater tendency towards capitalism. Historically, nation-states revolve around a territory in which a sovereign community of people reside. The state possesses what Max Weber calls a monopoly on the legitimate use of force or the ability to exert coercion, to exercise authority, but only within a given territory. For nations, it is a tough pill to swallow as notions of identity and sovereignty come into question when territorial borders disappear and the line between national and international law start to blur out, and at the same time, that monopoly on violence can be misused. Proxy wars and conflicts initiated by the US bear testament to that in the name of democracy and counter-terrorism. The actions of the state in favor of globalization have now alienated the nation, resulting in the establishment of nationalistic groups. The nation and the state follow different ways of thinking, organizing, and responding to political matters. Terrorist groups such as ISIS, new political movements such as alt-right groups, and sentiments similar to Brexit arise as a response to globalization.
Political action needs information. Information needs communication. Communication needs space. That space is the public sphere. The article argues that the public sphere has given way to cosmopolitan trends and is also influenced by civil society. In result, global public discourse emerges. The way we talk is determined by global issues, global norms, and cultures. We contest the politics of other global agents of power. We talk about local problems in the context of global ones. We lament the pollution of our lands and exploitation of our workers at the hands of transnational companies. The global public sphere is the one thing that opposes the economic globalization characterized by the transformation of the nation state.
In addition to that is the centrality of civil society in shaping both domestic and international politics. Civil society consists of NGOs, youth movements, voluntary organizations, religious institutions, which in this case can have considerable political power as they have the ability to organize people. They operate under the global normative culture and are bound by a collective interest and network policy or state of governance. They also provide a space for difference and diversity from a homogenizing world. Politics undergoes civil socialization, wherein decisions on governance must respond to demands by various stakeholders from the local to the global level, private and public spheres, and so on. Greenpeace and the Me Too movement, for example, have influenced global politics with regards to the environmental action and justice for sexual abuse victims, respectively. Given the trans-border capabilities of civil society, the supranational tendencies of public discourse, and transnationalization of state functions, how is space being organized in an increasingly globalized world?
Citing Manuel Castell's Network Society, in which technology has allowed the free flow and mobility of social practices like organization and discourse without territorial bounds, and Ulrich Beck's cosmopolitanization, or opening up of societies to global norms and issues from inside, the article argues that boundaries have blurred out as the world can be experienced as one political space where everyone can experience the same thing, be it about climate change or conflict, and this experience is further amplified by globalization. The world can come together easily in response to issues like international terrorism and the burning of the Amazon forests, what Beck calls a worldly society. However, borders are making a comeback due to security concern and anti-migratory sentiments in recent times due to the response of polycentric movements to globalization.
Due to globalization, there is a universal acceptance of democracy. Global normative culture demands that people must be protected by human rights law. And lastly, polycentric networks like active political movements and civil society have provided new opportunities for new actors, new types of governments, and new instabilities in the global community. Politics must now respond to a wide range of stakeholders brought closer together and farther apart by globalization.